I'm a pizza delivery driver, at least I used to be, not after this. For as long as I can remember, I've had insomnia. I simply couldn't fall asleep as easily as the rest of my family, because I was always so tired. I was brought to many doctors, but all of them concluded that it was just the way I am. Anyways, this insomnia didn't go away, not even in my almost 20s. That's when I took the job as a pizza delivery driver. I specifically took the night shift so that I wouldn't be wasting time at home and I could at least help some night owls like me. The shift was always kind of bland. All the deliveries were in the city, and on the rare occasions I had to go further. It wasn't really a problem as I actually enjoyed late night drives. Best thing is that there were almost no complaints ever. It was a night just like any other night, and I was about to clock out of work when we got a last minute delivery call. 2 large pepperoni pizzas. The cook, who was the only co-worker I was with that late at night, quickly prepared them before giving me the address. I didn't recognize the name of the street, so I just assumed that it was a pretty far away location, and I wasn't wrong. I drove for about half an hour on a dirt road before I reached the destination. It was a hospital. Since it was pretty far away from the city, I figured that there was just staff working the night shift and they needed some extra energy. There was something familiar about the place. I parked my car and got out. Almost all of the lights were off, except for the ground floor lights. I walked on the path leading to the building and knocked. Almost immediately, a nurse opened the door. There was something in the smile she had on her face. It was unnaturally wide. I handed her the pizza and she handed me the money, but as I was taking the payment out of her hand, she grasped my arm and pulled me inside. I was so surprised that I didn't really react, just stood there with a blank face. I wanted to get out, but 3 staff members blocked the door, so I had to come through. In a semicircle around me, about 10 people sat in rocking chairs. All of them had the same unnaturally wide smile. My brain just went numb. I could have never imagined that I would end in such a predicament. Suddenly, a glass-shattering scream came from one of the upstairs rooms. None of the staff seemed fazed. They all just stood there, smiling at me. "Time for dinner," they said, and all got up at the same time. They started heading for the room the scream had come from, even the people at the door. And that was my chance. I ran to the door and just crashed into it. It seemed that they locked it because it didn't open right away, but I eventually got outside and headed for my car. I got in, and right before I started the engine, I took one last look at the building and saw someone in the window. One of my old co-workers was smashing himself against the window, trying to break through. He went missing a week before the incident, and everyone thought that he quit. Now I see that he didn't. As I was backing away with the car, the very same nurse that opened the door for me came running and screaming at the top of her lungs, but I couldn't understand what she was saying. I never drove home so fast in my entire life. I got to my apartment and locked the door, then locked myself in my bedroom. I did not close my eyes the whole night. I called the police the next morning, and they went to check my claims. They told me that the hospital looked as if it had not been used in decades, with all of its old machinery still in place. Only one thing was fresh. A pile of bones discovered somewhere on the 2nd floor of the building. The bones were so clean that they were white and they didn't have a single trace of meat left on them. I'm pretty sure that was my ex-coworker Ted. The next week I got a box in the mail. It wasn't big or decorated in any way. It just said present. Inside there was Ted's name tag, and on the bottom of the box there was written in blood, "From your friends in St. Martin Hospital. Say hello to your sister. My sister died in a hospital with that name 6 years ago." Okay, so not gonna lie, I'm kinda freaking the fuck out. This has been happening for the past 3 days and I don't know how to deal with it anymore. For some background, I'm from Malaysia. I live alone in a budget apartment, and our country's been on full lockdown for over 2 weeks now, and my basic life schedule is completely fucked. I'm usually up all night till the morning of the next day, sleeping during the afternoons to late evenings. This was largely okay for me. Being up at night by myself is invigorating since it's so peaceful and calm. The air is cooler and the world is quiet. Most of the time I just fool around on the internet, reading and watching videos after getting some work done. However, as I've mentioned, starting 3 days ago, I've been getting delivery riders coming to my door at the dead of the night, usually around 3 a.m. The first time it happened, I was startled for sure. I mean, I live alone. It's 3 a.m. Getting knocks on your door at that time can only mean bad news. I quickly opened my door after putting on my mask, only to see a guy dressed in a polo shirt with a cap holding a box of pizza. Relaxing a bit, I told the guy, "Wrong house, bro," and tried to shut the door to get back to my business. But he stopped me with a, "Please, boss, please." I turned back around. The guy tried to push the pizza box towards me. "Please, sir, take it, your order." I shook my head firmly and said, "No, I didn't order anything. You've got the wrong house, man." But he didn't seem to be listening. He kept repeating, "Please, boss, take it, your order," while pushing the box to me. At this point, I kind of figured maybe this guy doesn't understand what I'm saying, or maybe he was disabled in some way. So I took the box thinking maybe the delivery address would be on it or something. First thing I noticed was that it wasn't the usual chain store brand like Domino's or Pizza Hut. The logo was just Gab in block letters, which isn't a brand I know of. There was no delivery address tacked onto the box or anything, so I tried asking for a receipt from the guy, but he just shook his head and said, No receipt," while backing away, ready to leave. I tried to stop him from handing him back the box, but he just wouldn't have it. He left hurriedly and I ended up with a free box of mystery pizza. Now I probably should be stoked cause it's free pizza, but it's 3 AM. It's from an unknown place from a brand I've never heard of, and it's delivered by one of the shadiest dudes I've ever met in my life. So I did what any reasonable person should do, and left it outside my door, thinking I'll just throw it out with the trash in the morning. My sister always told me to never pick up strange things from outside. Easiest way to avoid bringing in bad luck or trouble, she say. After that I got back on my computer, feeling just a tad weirded out, but not really thinking too much of it. Eventually the sun rose and I went outside to take out my trash. When I got outside though, the pizza box wasn't there anymore. It was a little strange, but I just shrugged it off as maybe the janitor or someone throwing it out for me. I proceeded with my day as usual and almost completely forgot about the whole thing, until the knocking came again. 2:45 AM. What the hell? I got up, put on my mask and opened the door. A different guy in the same uniform from yesterday stood in front of me holding yet another box of pizza. "Sir, your order, please take it." I shook my head. No order, it's not mine. Wrong house, man," I told him. This time I managed to just shut the door behind me before he could stop me. I stood by for a few more minutes watching the guy out of my peephole. At first he just stared blankly at the door. After it became apparent I wasn't coming back out, the guy just put the box down in front of the door and walked away. Satisfied, I went back to my desk and sat back down, grumbling to myself about how bizarre and annoying it is to have this happen twice. Did someone troll find my address and prank me? But the guy didn't ask for payment or anything. Is it just to harass me? Who would do that? Why me? Attempts to look up the pizza place returned no results, though it is also possible that it is a roadside business with no online presence. While all these thoughts are swirling in my mind, a realization hits me and I feel my heart stop cold. It's locked down right now. No restaurant can operate past 8 PM. How would anyone be delivering food at this hour? Also, riders are not supposed to walk up to the apartment themselves. They're supposed to leave the food at the guardhouse for pickup. So then who the fuck was outside my door? A chill shot down my spine. Internally freaking out, I quickly crawled to my bed trying to calm my wearing brain. It's probably nothing. I didn't take the pizza in and I didn't eat it either. If it happens again, I'll just get security and call the cops. It's gonna be okay. This is real life. I repeated silently in my heart with my eyes squeezed shut until I finally drifted off to sleep. Day 3, 9 PM. I wake up and go through my routine, nervously keeping an eye on the time. I tried my best to get my work for the day done, but it was impossible to focus. I kept waiting anxiously for the knocking to come. The clock ticked away. I stared at my computer, desperate for distraction. 2:25 AM. Bang, bang, bang. Boss, your order, boss. Please take it, your order. I froze in my seat for a solid 5 minutes staring at the door. Bang, bang, bang. Boss, your order, boss. I continue to wait without making a sound until the knocking stops. I can't say for sure how long it went on, maybe 10 minutes or so, but I kept waiting. The silence stretches on. It's an abrupt change from the incessant knocking just a few minutes prior. I glanced at the clock on my computer. 2:55 AM. It's been 30 minutes since his first knock. Gathering all of my courage, I stepped quietly towards the door and peeped out of the peephole, hoping it's all just a big misunderstanding. It's all just a simple mistake, and whoever was outside the door has left like a normal person. But to my absolute horror, the guy was still there, standing straight and staring blankly at the door, holding the pizza box. I gaped in shock. All of a sudden, as if sensing I was there, The guy snapped his head up and stared straight back at me through the peephole. I got so startled I almost fell backwards. He had no eyes. This guy, or thing, has no fucking eyes. It's just two gaping eye sockets where the eyeballs should be. I stare on, frozen in shock. Slowly his lips started to quirk upwards, curving into a smile so wide it looked downright unnatural. Then in a cheery voice bordering excitement, he said, "Saya tahu, you ada katsana." This time I fell back with a loud thud and a yell. I scrambled away from the door as fast as I could, backing into the corner of the room while keeping an eye on the door. This is when the banging started. Bang, 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 bang. "Boss, your order, boss. Your order, boss." Kept repeating cheerily in between the non-stop banging. To say I was gonna shit my pants was a major understatement. I was ready to die on the spot, quite frankly, and honestly saw no other way out of this at the moment. I kept my eyes closed, huddled in the corner of the room, just thinking, this is it. I'm gonna fucking die, this is it. Suddenly a loud, angry yell came from the next door. "Who the fuck is making all that noise?" I heard thudding footsteps and the sound of my neighbor's door opening. There's a pause, then it's back to silence. There's no more banging, no more cheery voice repeating, "Your order, boss, your order." I hear my neighbor's door shut and footsteps retreating. Shakily I stood up and walked to my bed. I curled up under the covers with my eyes shut tight, but sleep didn't come. My entire body was on alert, dreading when the thing will come back knocking, calling me in that cheery voice. Racked with fear and anxiety the entire night, I was still absolutely exhausted when the first rays of sunlight peeked into the room through the window blinds. I checked the time. 6:30 a.m. I crawled out of bed, got dressed, and walked down to security. I explained what happened these past 3 nights to the guard, leaving out the fact that what I saw could be inhuman. I suppose I was still clinging to some hope that it was a mistake, that my imagination got the better of me, and his empty eye sockets were just a slight trick of the light. However, after listening to my explanation, the guard just gave me a look of confusion and doubt. He tells me that nobody has been allowed up to the complex as per the rules, and even offered to show me the security footage when he saw how scared I looked. When the footage rolled, I could feel the blood draining from my face. It's just as the guard says, no one was allowed into the complex at the time of the incident. As a matter of fact, no one was shown outside my door either. There was nothing I could say. I just thanked the guard and headed back to my room. Could I be hallucinating? That could be it. Maybe this lockdown schedule is messing up my brain more than I can take it, I thought to myself as I trudged upstairs. As I was about to open the door to my room, however, the next door neighbor steps outside. He shoots me a glare and says, "Hey man, what the fuck was making all that noise at your door yesterday, huh? Don't you have any fucking manners? Don't you know 3 a.m. is when people fucking sleep? If it happens again, I'll fucking report you, man." Before slamming his door shut. He heard it too. He actually heard it. It's real. It's fucking real. Now I am in my room, typing this out, looking at the clock. It's 1:30 a.m. right now. It'll come soon. And I don't know what to do. I'm a pizza delivery driver, and my last call almost got me killed. This all happened a few weeks ago. I managed to make it back to this dimension alive, but only by the skin of my teeth. I really need to find a new line of work. I didn't need to be a delivery man. Nobody chooses this life for themselves. Nobody grows up with the dream planted in their mind that they want to be the world's fastest pizza guy one day. Driving around in a beat up jalopy with the smell of pepperoni in your nose. You know what sucks the most about it? You know that smell of delicious, fresh-baked pizza that makes your mouth water when you get a pie delivered? When you're a delivery guy, you just get to sit in that smell all day, and then you don't get to eat the pizza. You just get to smell it and let your mouth fill with saliva, thinking about how you wish you made more money so you could afford to buy an extra large with all the toppings, garlic bread crust, and a side of hot wings with blue cheese dipping sauce for good measure. That's where I was at mentally, as I sat in my shitty car, my battery slowly dying as I listened to the radio, and enjoyed the last bit of light afforded by the headlamps. Tow truck's gonna be here soon, I kept telling myself. smelling the pizza in the back seat. Any minute, the tow truck is gonna be here. I rolled the window down and stuck my head out, craning my neck to see into the distance behind me. The smell of the fresh autumn night air filled my nostrils and replaced the cheese and hot-baked dough. At first I thought there was a pair of headlights, but then whatever it was blinked out of existence and disappeared, like the glowing eyes of some great cat. I rolled up the window quickly, shivering from the cold draft as it filled the car. The address was supposed to be right there. I had actually been idling while I checked the directions on my phone. The GPS confirmed that I was where I was supposed to be, but there was no driveway, just untouched forest surrounding the road as far as the eye can see. Somehow I had run out of gas, despite the tank being half full. When I checked the time, it was as if I had been daydreaming for hours, like I had been in a trance while looking for the address on my phone. The sun had gone down at some point, and it was well past 11 at night, the moon overhead glowing an eerie pumpkin orange. That was when I had called the tow truck, but it seemed as if they weren't coming. Confused and bewildered, I got out of the car and looked around, wondering if they had gotten lost. I pulled my phone out and hit the redial button for the towing company, but this time all I got was static, as if whoever had picked up the phone was in a different dimension, separated from me by a wall of entropy. The brush on the other side of the road suddenly began to rustle and sway, as if something were moving behind it, trying to stay hidden, but too large to manage that successfully. "Hello?" I called out, hearing the quiver in my own voice and wishing I sounded braver. "Who's there?" Another sound came from behind me, and I spun around to get back in the car, terrified of whatever was stalking me so far out in the middle of the night black forest. But the car door slammed shut as I bumped into it with my wide hips. Too many hours of sitting and not enough sit-ups. Too many undeliverable pizzas eaten in parking lots for half price. Too many years of not taking care of myself taunted me as I grabbed the door handle and tried to pull it open, but found it locked. The key still inside, jammed into the ignition slot, mocking me. The rustling sound came again, and this time it was from behind another tree. Movements were heard on all sides as my eyes darted back and forth from place to place, seeing huge hulking shadows hiding behind the trees all around. "Who's there?" I shrieked, my voice high and breaking. "Stay back, I've got a gun." I don't have anything of the sort, but it was the only thing which came to mind that could potentially ward off threats of such size and terrifying proportions. A shadow began to emerge from behind one of the trees, and another came from behind me. I heard their huge lumbering footsteps coming closer as their features became discernible in the warning light of the moon. Their faces were obscured by the shadows of tree limbs and broken boughs above us, the half-bare branches shedding leaves like dead tissues, falling all around. The warmth of one creature's hot breath was in my face as I stood petrified, nowhere to run. My back was pressed up against the cold steel of the car, the window glass squeaking against my skin as I trembled with fear. Sharp, long hooked and pointed teeth grated together as gray lips pulled back into a grin. A mouth as wide as a windshield opened up as if to devour me, its pointed tongue salivating and dripping, and then it surprised me by speaking, its voice a rumbling baritone, deep enough to shake my teeth in their sockets. "Are you from Domino's?" it asked, spraying me with fine droplets of spittle. The acid burn of them sizzled on my cheeks. I ordered 8 large pizzas to this address. My hand was shaking badly as I hooked a thumb underneath the back seat. There, I managed to stutter. "Locked, by mistake." There was a heavy, deep-sounding sigh, as the creature was clearly annoyed by my amateur actions. But instead of eating me as an alternative, he smashed the window with his claw and reached inside, removing the boxes. "A bit cold," the thing said, sounding irritated. "You look to be warm-blooded though. Your blood might make for an interesting marinara." A screeching roar came from the woods. and the creature huffed and let out a sigh. "Yes, mother, I suppose we should leave him alive, otherwise who will deliver way out here?" He began to stalk back into the darkness of the forest, leaving me behind in my soiled and warm wet pants. "It is so hard to find good help these days. You really must bring back that 30-minute guarantee. We used to get so much free pizza in this dimension." "What dimension?" I called after the thing, looking around with confusion at the forest of trees, whose branches now whipped and coiled like angry snakes. How the hell was I gonna get home? I looked down and saw a $50 bill laying at my feet, with the head of a monster in place of President Grant. Shit, not again.